This is like my third or fourth time trying to make this vlog, and I have no idea how to still start these things. So I'm just going to start with a random comment, usually. Anyway, hi. I'm Fazdi. If you didn't know, I am doing a 10-week vlogging challenge, and this is week 2. And since it's week 2 and I can't introduce myself since I did that last week, I thought I'd do it on a topic. I thought I decided to do it on conventions because of 2 reasons. One, the reason why this video is late, which I was trying to plan for every Tuesday, is because I was at a convention this past weekend. And that convention was called MCM London. It's a it's a big convention that happens in the very south, in the capital of England, and I was lucky to partake in it. So what I decided to do is I could talk about many things in it, but I'll try to gloss over. At least I'll try to keep to more the important points. I started going to conventions back in 2008, 2009, but I never officially be part of the con scene until around about 2013, where I was able to work at conventions as well as co-organize a few of my own. So with that in mind, I tend to travel a lot on my own when it comes to these conventions as well, especially when I'm having to go down south. So I thought I'd make this video talking about some advice stuff, or some advice I could give some people who either are traveling on their own or just generally good advice that you should have at conventions. So number one is plan ahead. I can't emphasize this enough. There are times where people will, you'll forget things. There'll always be things you'll forget. But most importantly is always to make sure that if you are definitely going to a convention, make sure you know what the price of the tickets is. Make sure if you're going to get a priority, keep up to date with how many are left. If you're going to go for a hostel or a hotel, make sure you plan ahead. Try to see if you can, the earlier you booked, usually the cheaper it is. I say usually. They may not apply to all hotels. And make sure and when it comes to trains, especially train travel, make sure you book ahead as much as you possibly can, because you'll always get a better deal, at least probably a month in advance if you're going to buy tickets then. I'd say month and a half would be best because it's just more guaranteed. If you have rail cards, use it, use that, go for it. So always have that. If you're going to planning on spending stuff at the convention, make sure you have enough money for it, and if not, that's okay. Make sure you plan on something. You're doing something, because the worst thing you can feel like is that you're not going to be a part of the convention, or you're not going to have fun. Which leads me to the second point. Number 2, make sure you check the con book if there is one online or if there's one sent to you. Usually online on the websites or whatever, what have you, there's normally a con book that will talk about what the happenings of the event. Especially when you're going on your own, the biggest problem you'll end up having is to know what you want to do. So for example, make sure you have a look at what video games or what publishers that might be at the convention, or a good way, or if you feel scared, even if you're at the stand, you might still feel a bit left out because you're just playing games and you're too afraid to talk to people. I always recommend, and I don't know why this isn't emphasized enough, but there are communities there that are dedicated to particular fandoms. So for example, if you really like certain animes like Dragon Ball Z, Fairy Tail, or if you like online web series like Rooster Teeth, there's usually a meetup of sorts where like-minded people will come together. And so with that being the case, it's always good to try and meet up with those people, because at least you'll have something to talk about and you'll find more like-minded people. It'll get rid of more of the anxiety and it'll give you a good icebreaker as well. Number 3, and finally, haggle, haggle, haggle. Now, you might have heard it when it comes to Asians haggling, but I'll tell you this straight up. Anyone can haggle if they just put their mind to it. Trust me, you can be Asian too. When it comes to haggling, remember that these vendors are here to sell. When it comes to vendors that are inside the halls, exhibition halls, they are there to sell things in the end. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't understand that, on last days, or you might not have just enough. So if you haggle and say, if you want to pay for a certain amount, you never know if you don't until you ask. So you might want to try and see what happens. Try haggling. It'll save you money. And for vendors, or when it comes to certain bigger artists, certain bigger vendors, they will try to get rid of their stock as much as they possibly can. So try to make sure you are haggling if you can. If you can. Obviously, the only thing I don't want to rule it is don't take the mick. You know, never know. That's how I got this thing. I got this for £7 by one of the stands. I actually don't know what the stand was called, and I apologize for not being able to tell you. But I thought it was a good deal because online I found it for 15. Or alternatively, if you go to Tokyo Toys, you can get one of these, and this is really shiny, and my Gen 1 heart is happy. So I've gone almost a minute over as of this video. I've gone almost a minute over. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you'll be back again next week. I'm still trying to experiment on a few things, but I hope you enjoyed yourself. And hopefully this video has been of help to you, and thank you very much for watching. I guess in the comments below, I'd like to ask this for anyone who might be watching or who would be willing to give advice. 1. If you are, what sort of advice for people who you want to give advice to? What sort of advice would you give to people, for people who are going to conventions on their own? And 2, is there anything that you feel that should be mentioned? You know, for example, is there anything that people should take into account, and so on and so forth, when going into a convention that isn't the 3 that I listed already? So, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and thank you very much for watching. Bye! I'm Faz D, and I'm the one and only. Bye.